So next is GDP. GDP growth. GDP growth is the value of all finished product and service produced by a country. It is usually shown annually. But in Forex, you have to check that in all 3 months. Whichever country are you trading in, or whichever country are you trying to trade in. Let's say if I'm sitting in India and trading stocks or things or the currencies in New York or London, you have to check regularly. Regularly means after every 3 months the rate of GDP, because if the GDP rate is maintained in 3 to 3.5%, the economy is a pretty good economy. And if the GDP price is going up more than 3.5%, you can say the economy is going to an inflation. And if it go down, it is going to a recession or the decrease in consumers' demand, decrease in demand for consumer, and rising unemployment. That's what that shows the decreasing rate of GDP. And that's all the GDP, nothing much to say about it. And trade balance reports. Trade balance reports are the difference between exported and imported goods and services during the reported period. And there is 2 terms which called the trade surplus and trade deficit. Trade surplus is when the exports exceed the imports. It is a good sign for the currency, because the country will be making more money, and when you are trading that country's currency, you'll make a good amount of money. And trade deficit is just the opposite of it, when imports are more than exports, because the country is buying more things, which is their amount of stock currency is getting less. So it is bad for the thing, but it doesn't affect you with all currency. Let's say if US have a trade deficit, it won't affect much. It won't affect like any local countries, let's say any Asian countries or anything other than the exotics or the crosses. It doesn't affect like that. So I hope you get what is trade deficit. And that's it with the trade balance report. And the coming terms are also small terms. There is nothing much to explain, and as I always say, there is more things to know more than these shitty 9 features, 9 key indicators or anything. I told you that this doesn't happen, or it is not controlled by the government or anything. It is controlled by individuals and individual institutions like Chase Bank, JP Morgan's, and all those banks, and the people who invest, or the owners of the bank, or the investors of Federal Reserves. So next is the political events. Political events like the elections, referendums can create some change. And elections, you have to keep an eye, especially on referendums, because that doesn't come, on a regular interval period. It just comes randomly. So just keep an eye on referendums. So that might not be mentioned in the economic calendar. Just take your hands, or just don't look at that place who have an uncertain environment, the country which holds an uncertain environment, because you don't know what happens the next second. That's it. Maybe referendums, maybe war, maybe terrorist attacks, and some random changes can happen. So that random changes will affect your trades and the charts. So try to look on some balanced countries where you can predict things. And as I told you, keep an eye on news, because scandals can make changes. Scandals which provide the information of corruption, politics, or any political leader can create some change in charts. So keep an eye on news. And the next thing is the employment statistics. Unemployment in the country can affect the currency rate, or wherever you're trading, or some companies that's owned majorly by government. And keep a look on the news because they forecast the rate of unemployment. If the forecast is more than what is the actual whatever the actual unemployment, it is considered as good, and vice versa too. And that's with the unemployment, nothing much. We just have to keep an eye on news. That's it. And military conflicts is something that I told of the uncertainty, or the countries that have unstoppable environment. Their stocks or their currency rate will be unpredictable, because just when a war starts, it doesn't mean that the country that is failing will have a depreciating, their currency rate, or their stocks, or their government holdings. No, that thing will only happen after some time. There is a certain period that they are actually losing. The change only happens then. So when you get the information that some war is going on, or some war will be happening, just change your plan. That's it. Just hold back, because it is not safe to trade in a uncertain environment. If you are trading with a lot of money, you will lose that much amount of money. So you need to take the risk. Take it and lose your money like a dog. Or take my words, think like a wise man. And finally, QE, quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is simple. Quantitative easing is similar to the interest cut, which is used by the central banks to revitalize the economy during and after serious recession. So revitalize means to create a news. So whenever they want to change their strategy, or let's say put a new world order, they just create some chaos. So in order to make a lot of money, n number of money, to print with a button. So whenever they are printing money, they have to show something, show the record, show the accounts. They didn't show any accounts to public in the West. I'm talking about the West. They didn't show any accounts to the public in the pandemic. They printed a lot of money. And the Biden, yes, the election that happened in the pandemic was completely fake, because never in America's history the counting was finished within 24 hours. It would at least take 2 to 4 days. When Biden was the president, that just happened in seconds. The election was conducted and Biden became president. That's it. That's how it happened. So whenever they want to create some new world order or bring up some new strategy, they just create a problem, so or some chaos, and they work on the shadow of that chaos. And how quantitative easing actually works, like they say, quantitative boosting is done to boost a sluggish economy, and central bank prints money. So yeah, when they'll show the economy is weak, and they just print money and to buy bonds from smaller bank. So yeah, it is to help the economy. They buy bonds from smaller banks. You can just think when you hear all these things for yourself. They tell these are the things that we are going to do. So you just have to listen and keep your mouth shut, do your own work, you'll print money. What the fuck are you gonna do? You just sit there, and whenever you are doing these things, you're in jail. The next second you're in jail. So, this is how the world's working. I don't know how to explain it any better than this. And the third step, or the third thing they do to execute quantitative easing is who uses money to make loans to business and individuals. So they give their money to develop a business, to business owners and to the business. So they just make up some paper and they just give away their money, the bank's money, the country's money, to those businesses. Let's say some old man is resting his ass on Europe and he holds a business in the United States, and if the United States is going down, the United States will promote the business that is in their country. That doesn't care who the owner is or where the owner is. They just give their money to that person, and he'll just show up some paper that he spent his money on the business that he holds in the United States, and he'll just spend it on his own personal use. We would know that. We will only know the bank has given that person this money, or this business this much money. Maybe we might not even know that in future, because the society or the people are getting weaker and weaker. They are putting makeups and doing all these idiotic stuffs. People are getting weaker. Nobody is reacting to all these. Nobody like Alex Jones does exist in these countries. So the next step, which is resulting in business growth, and creation and increased spending, like I said, that is, they spend money and they use it for their own good, and if that money is not used correctly in that country, they just print money. Again, that's what is happening. Whenever they think, or whenever they are short of money, the people who are in charge and short of money, they just print it. What happens? As always. And thus revitalizing the sluggish economy. They create news like that. I cannot explain any better, because this is the simplest one that I can explain these things. And when a central bank is performing quantitative easing, it is essentially printing money to purchase huge amount of bonds from smaller banks. As a result, the banks have piles of money, hence the quantitative easing. See, I told you, this is what is happening. Banks obviously use this money to make new loans and buy stocks, which is expected to result in economic recovery. And who are the people who own the stocks? They are the people who own the banks. Same. So let's say, take any major company, take any major stock, and check their charts to hold their major share. Let's say Tesla or any company, you name it. The major share will be holding by two main companies, Vanguard and BlackRock. There's one more company I don't remember because I don't care about it. Vanguard and BlackRock will be owning major shares of all major companies and stocks. So whoever they are trying to save, or whichever country they are trying to save, the person who is in trouble and the person who is being saved is the same person. If you sit and think slowly, meditate on these things, you'll just understand how the system is working. So that's the 9 indicators, and next is the how to use the economic indicators. Nothing much, but how to use the economic calendar and all those things. So until then, stay strong.